What's up, Aries? Well, I'm sure you're reviewing a lot in your reality. This is Mercury retrograde in your sixth house. It's, of course, Virgo season in your sixth. So, the basics of the day-to-day reality, yes. Looking at the subconscious dilemmas, are you still identifying, with your wounds, with the patterns of your identity of like not feeling strong, or like maybe it's like how you used to be, or like how you want to show up. And there's a little bit of like, not so much like going into the past or the future, Aries, because I know you want to march somewhere, you want to be someone, you want to be strong, you want to be powerful, but you are already that in being the wounded healer. And the expression of, I think a little bit of peppered in, vulnerability. It's sort of like, wearing the self that you don't like to show to people, like being okay with that component of it. Realizing that when it comes to, your public image, things are going to be getting revealed anyway, and they already have been. I think this Venus coming out of retrograde for you, Aries, is really going to all be about, did you learn to like love yourself enough and find love in, other partnerships, other relationships, not just romantic ones, to reflect back that love, to let you know that it was actually safe for you to embody that love for yourself, despite the wounds, despite feeling like there was somewhere that, that you've been, and somewhere that you want to get to that you feel is like a stronger, more destined point for yourself. I wouldn't freak, Aries. I think you're in a good position. I think this is just about seeing where, you can open up and expand a little bit more, as, you are the star right now when it comes to the identification of any zodiac sign of what, expansion looks like, believe it or not, through contraction, through being humble, through being, these are my wounds, through being, these are my ambitions, but here's what's not working in my reality. Here's what I've discovered, my subconscious patterns, what I'm letting go. I think there's a lot more for you to talk about, Aries, and not suppressing the truth of, the real harmony that comes more from not so much like what you're actually saying, but like in the actual identity and the vibration that you're showing up in, and making sure that there is a congruence there, that you're not trying to be a past or, future version that you like better of yourself. Taurus, well, Taurus, I think this is a good time to celebrate for you, Taurus, because, I think you've kind of accepted that things don't really get easier. I think you've started to realize, especially, it's really important for your sign. Jupiter's going retrograde this week. And so now you've got Uranus retrograde too in your sign. So it's all about the subconscious, I think, evolution in your own identity of your own, patterns, and sensing internally, like what's your central nervous system telling you in terms of a better story that you can tell yourself. A lot of deep intuitive guidance that's available for you. Especially, if you practice the humble nature, sort of, I don't want to say turning the keys over to God, but, it's almost like the connection with God or the divine or whatever higher power is that you connect with, that only actually comes like through surrender. It doesn't come from thumping a Bible. It doesn't come specifically from prayer. It doesn't really come from asking. It doesn't come from like the seeking, or especially like the self-seeking like aspects of things. I think if anything, your humble nature is like being okay with, like I do have friends, I do have people, that intuitively I can connect with, or people that can help serve me in a way, that keeps me going on my journey, or how, you can serve for others. I think a lot about seeing like what your true, value is, Taurus, isn't so much about being stubborn in your patterns, especially around like what you've identified as what love looks like, and being okay with, realizing that love might actually look different in the reality than what your mind thought it was, with Mercury retrograde and the Sun in Virgo in the fifth. This Venus retrograde, this is your fourth house. So, I think you probably learned a lot, when it comes to like your home life, foundation, family, your emotions. But I think it's going to take a while to integrate this. I think you're in a position where, because it deals so much with your personal life in that regard, that it's only going to come through the actual intuition. It's only going to come actually through the understanding, of like what is in the emotional state that you're going to integrate over these next 18 months. I don't think it's something that you can do all at once. Fourth house is Cancer type energy, where it's like it's the rainstorm that hits hard. You can't drink it all at once. You can't, like process and embody everything like all at once. There's sort of an understanding that when it comes to your personal life, there is more of like a slow flow to it. So, when this comes to your money situations, your relationships, your self-worth and stuff like that, it's being okay with, it reminds me of like, might feel like you lost your marbles a little bit with maybe some of the decisions that you're choosing, to make, Taurus, and the shifts that you're making, but trusting that as long as it connects with people better, this is the glitter, the snowflakes that you've spread throughout the greater world to like go out and find a spark for yourself and being okay and going out and finding what that spark is. So Gemini, I think if there's anyone that's been intuitively guided and protected during this time, it's you. I think the main thing though is to maximize, these next 6 months with Uranus retrograde and Jupiter now going retrograde in your 12th house, to see what you could have done different and to not have regrets. To see, just have the long-term plan, like think 8 months out, like what you can do better. I would not be worried and get deflated during this time that there was something that you could have pulled off if you wouldn't have hesitated or been so wishy-washy about shit. I think this is a little bit more about seeing where, you've got plenty of time to figure out the longer term trajectory of, your career, mission life. Funny, I almost said missionary. I think this is a time to like make sure that you're not being lazy, Gemini. I think if anything with, the funkiness of the 11th house and the freedom that you're searching for, like if you're wanting to get to a space of where you're feeling like reality is more free and you're feeling kind of like still trapped, even though you're free, I would look at how are you feeling just in terms of your masculine energy? Do you feel your potency? Do you feel that drive? Do you feel when you do have that light bulb moment go off within you, that you actually go out and you take action on that shit? Or, do you kind of just get weird around people and then you don't do it, or you hesitate because you're like, well, I'm not sure if this thing that I'm going to be or identify with is going to like be good for the group. It's like, fuck that noise. Like, be okay with being like the boss, like the community leader that leads by the example of sharing their vulnerability and seeing that this is not about keeping peace and harmony in your romantic relationships by being different, Gemini. Like, if there's one side that's got to be okay with being radically fucking different in all their partnerships, including their romantic ones or like partnerships with their children, it's you. Because you try to fake that shit and fake that harmony, boy, oh boy, are you subconsciously just holding yourself back? And I think that's some of the patterns you're going to see over these next few months is, if there's any regrets, it actually, believe it or not, wasn't so much you holding, your own self back or the facts or the details or whatever it is that you like to have, Gemini, of like piecing the reality together, that it was actually more about where were your relationships holding you back, and maybe go punch a pillow if there's some frustration, if you come to have that come to Jesus moment, realize where you were kind of, subconsciously, unconsciously somewhere in there fucking yourself.